The stands. The National Stadium was a small industrial amphitheater made of concrete and steel. Every year, for one day during the sports term, its humble stature blossomed into a majestic Duppy paradise. Thousands of teenagers with shimmering souls flowed into the arena, ready to watch their school's finest track stars, and blissfully unaware of the ghosts watching them from the stadium's entrance. These spirits ignored the adults who came to observe or supervise. They only focused on the students, scoping out those whose adornments shone brightest. At sports, boring school uniforms and basic hair transformed. Muddy school colors, which usually dull the students' rich skin, were decorated with a vibrant array of ribbons, iridescent glitter, and baubles. Rhinestones dotted cheeks, eyelids, and shoulders like precious gems. Kanekalon weaved into towering cornrows, while temporary color painted large puffs of hair or lined the edges of decorative low-cut fades. School ties were pulled straighter, crisp skirt pleats were patted flatter, edges were laid with the strongest jam, and some pants still hung low but never sagged. Even $5 bandanas were elevated to luxury, draped sumptuously over necks and faces. As this magnificent procession of children crossed the stadium's entrance, they felt something tingly and warm deepen their joy. A feathery breath of air kissed their foreheads, thanking them for their presence. The breeze was so light, only the deepest, subconscious part of them registered the Duppy's touch. Then, the freeing up could begin. Chants and drumming would soon flood the air. The spirits followed students into the rows of stands enclosing the racetrack. They waited patiently as the children sat restless, enduring the commands of teachers splitting them up by form, assigning prefects to man each section, and finally leaving them to join a small group of parents, who were usually former athletes, at the bottom of the stands. Soon, a gun would fire, and another, then another, until a first or last race, a race that mattered, was in session. All eyes locked on the track. Duppy's braced as students grabbed anything that could hold a rhythm to cheer on their champion. Overturned plastic buckets, foil pans, a book beaten against the cement stands. Students jumped up and down, vibrating the thick cement slabs beneath them and exciting the Duppys above. In this frenzied focus, their minds, bodies, and voices became one, inviting the Duppy known. Thousands of Duppys in the stands to slip in and out of their chosen ones. They possessed the teenager's body crown first, entering their mind with pleasure. This is what they came for, this divine feast, a safe place to rest. In turn, they gave back, communing with the divine part of each teenager that needed to breathe as the drumming, the waking up, the chant stretched on long after the race ended, no matter which school won. Legions of Duppys led young bodies in sacred movements to rhythms that, in older times, made universes, moving 5 minutes of jamming to something eternal. The stands groaned under them because the National Stadium was made for sitting, not for this. But parents and teachers never intervened. They're catching a vibe, man, leave them. And the adults would leave them, just as others had left them, because they'd had their time with Duppys too. When the work ended, each spirit slowly withdrew its essence from the teenager's body, gliding from the tips of their toes to the soft crown of their head, exiting with a delightful gust of wind that eased the body back to itself, flushing out any slither of foreign spirit holding on to their whole soul. At most, a teenager would shiver. That's how gently a spirit left them. The Duppys, fully sated, always floated away. This ritual played out every year. Students and Duppys poured into the stadium and it would creak louder and longer under the power of their weight. Every year, the arena's cries would be more noticeable to teachers and parents, but they focus on the spectacle of children catching the spirit. Don't worry, man, they're catching a vibe. It was just like this in our days, you remember? Still, every year, one or two eyebrows would raise at the stadium's rusting exposed beams and crumbling concrete, at the widening gap between the concrete slabs. But the students kept quiet, adjusting their movements, learning where they could sit and stand and jump safely in the stands, trying not to complain to teachers or prefects about tripping on a loose nail or a chipped edge because, well, they didn't want their freedom to end. The Duppies, though, sensitive as they are, grew nervous. The declining state of the stands steadily dimmed the spirit of new students. Duppies, eager to make things work, still welcomed teenagers into their home year after year. And though the children still dressed up, too many of them did not register the warm gust of wind greeting them at the stadium's entrance. Every flaw in the old structure caught their eyes. Clubland, government Catholics now? Are we building so many hotels and the stadium still looks up? Hearing their whispers, the Duppies grew resentful, carelessly slipping into students' bodies whether a soul welcomed them or not, slowly eroding the communion they'd grown to share. Students took longer to let go of their bodies, making possessions last longer than usual, say 10 minutes instead of 5. When the spirits were done, they zoomed instead of floated out of their chosen bodies into the ether. Teenagers were left feeling lighter, happier, but dazed. One year, during a clumsy ripple of possession, one student fell. She was a popular girl, a tiny sprinter with a strong voice, colorful press-on nails, and sculptural cornrows that spiked the air. The Duppies were busy swarming students in the stands, frustrated that their moment for possession was taking long to come. Finally, this girl, the sprinter, who had a bit of the old spirit within her, ran across the track after winning her race. She had broken a long-standing record. Her coach, who was timing her, laughed as she whisked away his whistle and blowhorn. She put the horn to her lips, shouting to the crowd, "That's the best one I could do? I know you could do better than that, man." In response, the students came to life. They jammed hard, chanting louder and wilder as relieved Duppies washed through them. Their rhythm called the girl from the tracks to the center of the stands, where newly possessed students formed a makeshift drum line. She repeated her line. "Wait, that's all one could do?" She took the stick from a hypnotized boy at the front of the pack, hitting the cement quicker than he ever could, while walking up faster and faster, guiding the booming chants and rhythmic stamps rocking every stand. A Duppy entered her slowly, with the reverence of times past. Her spirit welcomed its warmth as it washed her body inside out, easing any points of pain or tension it passed over, reaching into the deepest part of her to connect with pure soul. The feeling was so strong, so missed, that the Duppy taking over her swelled wider than usual, easing past the girl's spirit to the private part of her mind no one else should go. Her melodious dancing jolted. The smooth whirls of her waist stiffened, as if questioning their own movement. Her careful steps fell out of time, suddenly unsure. She tripped on a crack in the concrete, tumbling through the wide gap between the stands. People and Duppies stopped moving when she hit the ground. The government closed the stadium for repairs that year. Inter-school sports continues at another venue now. New restrictions forbid students from dressing up, making drums, or dancing. The Duppies, drifters by nature, found bright souls somewhere else, while more students, teachers, and parents skipped the event altogether, preferring to stay home. The old stands were bulldozed to large piles of rubble. The infamous racetrack was lifted and burned. In its place, white dust blankets the air, falling and rising and falling, powdering the ground like ash. The end.